way. Usually people, they're intelligent, they kind of weigh out their situation, trying to figure out, well, should I say this or should I? And they maybe double, triple guess themselves, especially in today's society. But when you have intelligence locked inside you and you can't get it out, the silencing of intelligence has hurt us more than the dumbassification. Yes. The backstory, HOT97, tip of the iceberg. On Twitter, the one social network that I use, I ain't on Facebook. Instagram. Instagram is like, it's like, I do Twitter because it's 140 characters. I'm an MC and I'm a writer, so I could get 140 characters to be like a fastball. By that dude Chapman on the Cincinnati Reds as a baseball foul, he throws 105 miles per hour. So I throw 140 miles per hour tweets around. So when my daughter Dominique told me about HOT97 and other people told me about it, and I took the 5 years ago into consideration, without saying anything over the last 5 years, I just put on Twitter, Summer Jam 2014 was a sloppy fiasco. Now, that was what you call the convenient truth. That wasn't the jarring truth. These dudes coming out of the woodwork. Oh, they're dissing Summer Jam. Oh, he's old. Oh, what are they talking about? Oh. And I was like, and the first person to respond was Rosenberg. I had met Rosenberg not too long ago, young kid, whatever, hey, how you doing? That's the art of rap thing that was put together by Ice-T. Met him, cool. Everybody's all good, whatever, So when he came out and said that in a tweet, I'm like, okay. And this other dude, Ebro, I don't even know this dude. I don't know none of them. I don't care to even know him. Exactly. I'm like, who is this dude? It's not even in my highway, man. It's like, so when they talk about relevance, I'm like, relevant to what? Because the problem sometimes with New York is that New York is a bubble. And it's a bubble where we sometimes kind of have a lot of yeast up in this bubble. And this bubble seems like it is the whole world. And there's nothing else is even, even Jersey, Connecticut, and Long Island ain't even, New York. I come from parents who were born and raised on 151st Street. Harlem, uptown. Born in 1938 and 39. They got more New York in them than anything. And my family were quick to tell you, there's Manhattan and everything else is country. I remember I was like, what? 8 years old, I'm on 151st Street, hate to be on the block, sitting on the stoop, because my grandmother and great-grandma said, y'all, you won't leave no stoop. My stoop is about like this big. I'm like, I'm used to climbing on trees and running and whatnot. And don't you leave that stoop. I left the stoop, got my tail whooped. As I was getting my tail whooped, it was like, where do you think you at, Long Island? I'm from Queens. That's why I said, where do you think you from, Long Island? The Mecca of black life in New York, Manhattan, Harlem. Simple as that. So anything that calls itself the sound of New York, whether they put hot behind it, power, jams, urban. A term of urban is when you can actually play black faces, play black music, not call it black, but take away the accountability and responsibility of what it really is. Right. Now I say, true urban and true hip hop to me is like, play everybody. Just don't be playing black faces all the time. Like BET, the Booty and Thug Network. Booty and Thug. You gotta spell N-E-N. Network. So at the same time, they're playing black faces all the time. So, okay, we understand that hip-hop and rap music, this is black music and black culture, down to the root with an explanation that goes along with it, where I'll be short to explain. We understand that. Doesn't mean anybody else can't do it. No, it's just like Barack Kim said, respect the architect of where it comes from. Respect where it comes from. All around the world, you could be in Croatia. We've been in Croatia, Thailand, Australia. If people do hip-hop, but one thing they got in mind, respect the architecture. Respect the fundamentals. Respect where it comes from. Respect New Yorkers. All around the world. been to 97 countries. I ain't gonna hear something from a person who got a job inside a bubble in a radio station trying to tell me what it is. So the dude got a job. We got to understand in their livelihood. This is these brothers, the Cold Crush brothers, Zulu Nation. This is their life. This is our life. It ain't a job. Never be in fear of somebody who just got a job and trying to tell you what to do with your business. Your business doesn't have anything to do with financial notes in the Wall Street Journal, how much you're pulling in over this money. Money's irrelevant. It's your business. Raising the child is your business. So it's our business. They got jobs. Know the damn difference. So yeah, 2014, I use social media to describe it. Rosenberg, Ebro, they responded, and they start coming at me. I didn't pay to know mine 3,000 miles away raising a 3-year-old. You know, I'm watching, I'm navigating all this stuff to my child, my youngest one. And I said, oh yeah, you heard what so-and-so said on the radio about you and said, who made you president of hip-hop is on YouTube. I'm like, man, I don't even have time. You know what? He ain't disrespecting me at all. He disrespected the hell out of hip-hop. He disrespected the hell out of New York. I refused invites to the station, and I said, quite simply in my tweets, because I use the one social media that I do, like I said, I'm on Facebook. Facebook is something, I'd rather have my face in a book, and Instagram is somebody who can't come up with 140 characters. They like to tweet food all the time. Oh yeah, this is what I just ate today. Burp. I said hip hop don't need a president, it needs socialism. Other voices need to be heard. It shocks and amazes me, right? This is the city of spitters, but nobody ever gets a chance to speak. It's like the Johnny Carson show. Come out, flip all these things in the air, and you ain't never getting the couch. The N-word is applicable. Yeah, you ain't getting the couch, N-word. So all the MCs in New York, in a station that calls itself the home of hip-hop, or where hip-hop lives instead of dies, don't never have a mic open for MC from the 70s, 80s, 90s, millennium, just somebody who's down. We got to hear what 2 Chainz got to say. Maybe French Montana, or maybe, one of the ASAP cats. And I'm like saying whatever is whatever. But when you come into New York, you got to change the game and open up the rules and have an understanding that this goes back to the 70s, and there's an MC sitting somewhere in Brooklyn who spit on a microphone in a park in 78, who might not know what's going on, but if you diss hip-hop, he might want to whoop your tail. Sitting there waiting, like, oh, he said something about Chuck D? Oh, yeah, I'll throw a kick in. So apology is not to me. You make the apology to hip-hop, you make the apology to black people. Some things can't be picked up in analytics, metrics. Oh, we only listen, we got to play what our listeners respond to, or our audience. What are your demographics? I mean, analytics and metrics, like, what's your measurement on this today? I mean, where does this come from? It comes from Arbitron. Arbitron is a rating system that they used back in the 70s and the 80s that determined per capita square mile how many people were listening to the radio station, especially when people were going, oh, do I do BLS or KISS? Choo-choo, choo-choo. We follow whatever actually reflects us. Just like, take a picture of an audience, you in it, the first person you look for is who? Same thing in radio. Have the radio, put a familiar music that, is familiar from, oh, it sounds like this is like, I heard this back in the day when my mom was making breakfast. She made it with eggs and grits and all that. I remember this song, and it's used in the song that we follow the music and follow the vibe. And that's where that comes from. The narrative. A lot of people use these words like the buzzword narrative. I don't know the narrative. And I had to ask my wife, because my wife said I get cryptic, so I was like, yeah, I know what the word means, but what do you think it means? And she says, like, the main story. Okay, I get it. Because a lot of people be using the words, don't know what, but a narrative, and I'm like, oh. But the narrative here is, who controls the narrative? Who defines now? Who is who? Those who know who. When did black become a curse word? Person walked in the room. What do you are? I'm not black. Why you gotta say black? Oh, you made it racial. Oh, no. But when did the N-word become the one-word national anthem? See, black is the curse word, and the N-word is all good, the national anthem. It's all right to use. Words can start and stop wars. Beware when people start talking about, oh, ooh, strong language. You mean strong language with me cursing? Or do you mean strong language with me telling the truth? Is that the reason why I got the sticker, the parental advisory sticker on Field of Black Planet? Ain't too many curses in that. Well, we gotta watch out for America. You ain't gotta watch out for America. You gotta watch out for the United States of America. Here's the buzzwords and the buzz terms in the narrative I'm talking about. It's now 5:15. I won't take much of your time. Like I said, I live far away. I visit New York, live here, drop it because we're at a turning point. Since this is the time, the question is, can you seize the time? This is beyond just us in the room. It's on this camera. It's going to go up. It's going to go around. This is where it starts. It really starts with you. Here's the buzzwords, the buzz terms. Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Can hip-hop progress the world past 140 characters? Humans spending their Facebook more than their face in a book. They on Twitter like tweets. They Instagram it because it's the simplest way you can get, oh yeah, pictures worth a million words. Yeah, pictures worth a million words, so what are you trying to convey? We have anti-intellectualism versus intellectualism. You have dumbassification, where you have a lacking of logic, rationale, and deductive reasoning. Logic, rationale, and deductive reasoning used to be called sense. Matter of fact, it used to be called common sense. The common has been removed from it. What you have today is common nonsense. When you have common nonsense, and you have a lacking of logic, rationale, and deductive reasoning, that sets you up for roboticism. And then all of a sudden, when you talk about reality, and then today they throw reality around when people don't know the line between reality and fantasy. In fact, it blurs into so much that people's reality is fantasy and their fantasy is reality. They have TV shows that are canned, shot over 7 months of time, and all of a sudden they say, well, this is the reality. And people follow it like, matter of fact, even when we go somewhere, and Flavor hasn't been doing, he hasn't done a show in like 8 years. And people are like, yo, man, asking like, yo, because they saw a replay or a redo a year or two later, they asking him about a question that something happened 2 years ago, like it was relevant to that moment right there and then. That's roboticism. When a human turns into a machine, the machine gets treated like a human. Think I'm lying? Take a Lamborghini, take a person dying of HIV and AIDS, that person is dying, crush that Lamborghini with a big ball that crushes a building. People go, oh, at the Lamborghini. They step over people dying. Greatest invention ever was the creation of human beings on this planet Earth to be in charge of this planet Earth. And drop that ball, that's why the rest of the nature and the planet is rebelling against that. Dumbassification. Also reflected in individualism. When you have a robot who's only told, and they follow what's told. If you're going to tell somebody, and they do what's told, then the next thing from told is a rhyme that goes with sold. You can sell anybody that you tell, that you train. Case in point. Make it dumb and young enough to fit in. Y'all heard like, well, who made up this? Young people look at older people and say, look, you dropped the ball on your age because you're not playing your lane. You're not playing your age. For example, what's stupid? 50's the new 40, right? What's 50 the new 40? 40's the new 30. Then young people start questioning like, well, 30's the new 20. Was 20 the new 10? You tell that to a teenager. 19, you the new 10? What is 10 the new zygote? The new embryo? So young people are rebelling against this dumbassification and common nonsense going around, but they're trained to be robots to conform to an order that they can't understand, waiting for something to tell them something. When greed, negligence, narcissism, negativity, all the things, and also being buoyed by social media, that makes it a portal for a new COINTELPRO. Things that you don't understand that I say, you got a phone or whatever gadget you use all the time, you can Google it. We can trust Google on defining COINTELPRO. We can even trust Wikipedia on defining COINTELPRO, okay? We ain't got to get into too much. We could get into the nuances like, I don't know, man, you know, I don't trust none of these gadgets. Start somewhere. Then have a conversation with a human being, eye to eye, nose to nose, face to face on it. Then come up with your own opinion. Try not to be a robot, even if you're wrong. If it's important for the new counterintelligence program and Hoover's legacy, where they still got a building down in D.C. that they parade around, then what is what? Celebrity, the new drug of the USA. The drugs are dried up in the street. Celebrity's a new drug because they got the virtual drug thing going on. And through this thing of the drug, what's the drug? The drug is also maybe losing and trying to find yourself in the name of fame. Fame is a four-letter word, I tell many artists. I say fame is a four-letter word that's synonymous with an F word that's four letters that is synonymous with the word fake. Fame is fake because it's concocted in a lab, sometime in a boardroom, maybe with 2 or 3 people, between lunch periods. Fame is fake. And the reason that fame is fake, why is it fake? Because it has a tendency to fade. Because it's not real. Anything that's not real has a tendency to fade if it doesn't have upkeep, endorsement, financing behind it. So fame is fake and it fades. And if you don't believe that fame is fake and it fades, then you are F-U-C-K-E-D. Another four-letter word with an addition kit to it. And this whippings of mass distraction. My man DST, the great grand mixer DXT, played on Herbie Hancock. He said, you know, Chuck, what's going on is this the great degree of social farming. Not only are they actually flipping the GMOs in the food, they've been doing it for a long, but now they found a way to take the DNA of what we dig and what we like and who we are, the social farm, a misunderstanding of ourselves to the next 2 or 3 generations. As we go 6 years ahead into the year of supposed to be clarity, 2020, where will you be with the things that you so-called love and the people you love? Will you have a definition of yourself that you could call to yourself? 2020, think that. Because adversaries and your enemies are already in 2035. They're already in 2020. People didn't think that, oh, I'm gonna have a cassette player forever in my car. I'll carry a box forever. Like they made the decision to go from cassette to CD. They ain't make no damn decision. Man, I'm never gonna stop my CDs and DVDs. Man, I said, man, trust me, man. A minute, man, they're gonna be, you can get like 7,000 blank CDs for $4, man. Man, what you talking about, man? There's CDs forever. I said, you ain't made the CD. How do you know it was coming? I'm saying. So you ain't doing no in the 45s? Yeah, I'm saying though, but I'm holding on to them. And 45s have made a return, but not in the way that people think. They have no value. They can be used by people that understand that world. That's keeping it musically speaking. It's almost 5:25. Get me to about 5:45. Hang on, because it's the only time you're going to hear stuff like this. And if you want to go even deeper, you go into what Griff has written and what Black Dot has written, and even more so. I'm giving you an intro, and I'm sorry if I'm going past your head on some of this, but if you say that you love music, know music. If you say that you love anything, at least know about it. It ain't just the hip-hop generation. I go to older relatives and I start talking about Muddy Waters. They know the records, maybe. They forgot the name of the song, don't know where it came from. Find somebody who's white, who's 22 years old. Oh yeah, Muddy Waters, it came from Indianola, Mississippi. It's like, wow, this is going to be the person that's going to tell Muddy Waters' story. So all the people that say they love hip hop, how much of it do you know? And if you're a New Yorker and you don't know what's here, it's like being in New Orleans and not knowing a damn thing about jazz. It's like being in Chicago and you don't know nothing about the blues. But that's part of it. It ain't your fault. It's a part of the process to not have you trace the knowledge of yourself to the culture that was created by you and where you live. I'll be short and descriptive with that. So, we have to understand the whippings of mass distraction who turned the masses into them as they just moved the MO. Understand?
Yes, sir.
We didn't make up these things all of a sudden. I'm gonna be walking down the street. I used to wear a Walkman, now I got an iPod. We didn't make up that. iPod came out of left field and they knew by 2008 from the plans in 1998 that everybody was gonna have an iPod. They knew in 2001, by 2012, you were gonna have tablets, gadgets, nanos, Samsung, getting your music, seeing your videos, everything on a couple of gadgets. Now you're married to the gadgets. Love the gadgets. Somebody spilled coffee or water on the gadgets, you mad at a human being. Sight and sound were the key tools in propaganda and mind control. Sight and sound. Music doesn't sell today or does not resonate today. People talk about selling. That's a whole nother month of discussion of what sells, what's sold, and what's not. I'm truncating everything into a conversation. Okay. Sight and sound. Young people today, they have to see music first. They hear it second. The generation that we came from heard music first, saw it second. I'll be real practical. Born in 1960, 10 years of the 60s, 5 years, 6, 7 years on up of the 70s, right? Music was played on the radio station. Temptations, right? You didn't see the Temptations. You went to the store, you might have seen a cover, an album cover. You might have seen this or that. You didn't see the Temptations until they came on what? In the 60s, you didn't see them until they came on Dick Clark, American Bandstand, Hullabaloo, Shindigs, Ed Sullivan. You ain't seen them. The 70s, when the late, great Don Cornelius started Soul Train in Chicago in 1969, then you started to see black artists on national TV. They moved from Chicago to Los Angeles, 3,000 miles away from New York. But one thing in common, that every black song and every black artist that came through, they remembered Don Cornelius because he started out as a DJ on a radio station, WVON, in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois, WVON is VON, meaning Voice of the Negro. It was started by Leonard Chess, who started Chess Records in 1946, which was first the actual record company that played a lot of the Chicago blues and really helped jumpstart the electric blues. The difference between electric blues and the traditional blues that was coming out of New Orleans and then up the river to Mississippi. What's the next city up the river from New Orleans? See, it's very important to understand. To strip a people away from the knowledge of self, especially in the vast United States, which separated us as slaves, all you got to do is make them fuzzy on history and geography. Especially if you don't know where you're at in the world, then how you want to be able to find out who's like you and how you like and what you like. Strip your history, strip your geography. Start off by stripping your geography. So that's why you be hearing things like, well, I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go up to Miami. Well, where you at? Geographically, you Philly. I don't know. And if you ain't got no relatives or no cousins, back in the day, 60s and 70s, if you ain't got no cousins and relatives in another city, that city don't exist. First time I went to Detroit, where I got relatives, and the geography worked like this. The geography worked like, wherever your people went, that's where that put it on the map. That made Jet and Ebony also co-sign that. So the thing about it was like, my grandfather from North Carolina, Rockingham, him and his trifling brother, his brother's trifling, my uncle's trifling. They be making up things like, and I'm getting stories, of course, I'm sitting next to my father, sitting next to my grandfather in 1975 in Detroit, Michigan, as he worked for 30 years for Ford and then Chevy's, General Motors, driving a truck, which said, you know, I was driving a truck, I'm gonna buy a Cadillac, and driving a Cadillac on 7 Mile Road in Detroit in 1959, always being stopped by police. Like, N-word, once again, what you doing driving that at this time of the night in this place? So of course, my grandfather goes to spit stories. He said, man, I came up Rockingham, North Carolina, my brother trifling, he like, out of his blue mind, just be like, Amos, let's go beat up a white boy today. Mind you, this is North Carolina, 1935. And my grandfather laid back, he's like, man, why are we gonna do that? Anyway, he's the younger brother, they go, get in the confrontation, they beat up on this dude, white guy, roll him in a ditch, left him for dead, hold him. Sheriff knocks on the door, looks for my grandfather and my granduncle, said, are they around? They better be out of town if they find them. So they head north. They do what? Most migration out of the South is to get away from that James Crow character. So they go up to New York. They go through Philly first, because my great uncle knows some people in Philly. They stop there. My grandfather don't. Then they go up to New York, because my grandfather and my grandmother, my father's mother and father, my great-grandmother moved up to Harlem on 145th Street because there was jobs there offered because her sister moved up here. So everybody started doing like, okay, I got an apartment, but we split this in twos, we split it in four, you over here. So that migration happened just out of necessity. But my great-grandmother said, okay, we ain't having him up here. So my grandfather went out to Detroit. And he set up shop out there. He couldn't stay in New York. He couldn't go back to North Carolina. So those type of stories don't reflect metrics and analytics. It's in the soul of where we come from. The geography of where we come from has a whole bunch of stories that add up to who we are and why we are where we are. But if you strip that geography from a people, it ain't got nothing. You take history and you make history, you make something historical sound hysterical, you got a problem. Style is a thin line between style and stupid. Constant elevation means to challenge information. Years ago, we made don't believe the hype. To challenge information, it didn't say don't believe things. Just don't believe something that's being tossed at you. Anytime you see a recession in America, there's a depression for black people going on full blast. Then there's the actual, like I said before, the undisputed truth of things, the actual fact, the jarring truth, as opposed to the convenient truth. PIC, the Prison Industrial Complex, 1970, there was 100,000 black men in jail. Now it's what, 2 million? What's the actual figure? Like if we got actual figures. 2.4 million black people, black men and Latinos in prison. How did something go from 100,000 in 1970 to 2.4 million? Then they'll tell you like, well, you're making it racial. Well, America, unfortunately, is still black and white like an old TV set. And the ratio makes it racial. Okay? So, managing technology is the thing that we can work on. You ain't gonna master these things. You're gonna manage them because they move them quick. All you gotta do is work one of these gadgets that y'all got, and you got these gadgets for about what, 9 months? Before they say you gotta like upgrade, and they upgrade your bill at the same time, and then they air you out. You be like, yo, I was good with this. I just was able to turn 100 cats on. We all, no, you gotta upgrade and all those devices. Man, they might as well be paperweights if you want to collect paper. So you could best manage these things. You're looking for a big brother. People looking for a big brother and sister end up begging Big brother. Sight and sound, the key to propaganda and mind control. Understand this brings us right to hip hop. Give me 5 to 10 minutes with this. Hip hop and rap. Definitions. People ain't never heard a clear definition of hip hop and rap. Everybody say, I love hip hop. Y'all hate rap. Why? Give me a clear definition. These are clear definitions. This is clear, crystal clear, not cryptically clear. Hip hop is already explained. It's a culture. It's a matter of fact, it's a culture. You can go into the deeper discussion, like what Black Guy had, what Griff talked about, into like what the elements really are, to keep it real simple and plain. You want to say MC and DJ, graffiti, breakdance, right? You can add a couple more appendages to it, but those are the basic elements. Okay, hip hop. Those are the terms for hip hop. But we are a creative people from ground zero, second one. MCing is just vocalization. There's a correlation between Billie Holiday singing Strange Fruit and Nas spit. That's vocalization. Don't be giving all the, oh man, we give it to hip hop. Hip hop is a term for our creativity since 1973, 72. It's like we didn't exist before hip hop. That's absolutely crazy. DJ. There's a different, from the DJs who are the manipulators and players of music. Come on, DJ is musicianship. So looking at the great Art Tatum, who was a pianist, walking the streets of Harlem, led around by Fats Waller in the 30s and 40s. There's a correlation between those DJs and how they manipulated, like the executioners, manipulated turntablism in the 90s and the 80s. There's a correlation there. It's the same thing. It's coming out. It's the musicianship. You see people right on 125th able to play drums without arms. It's inside coming on outside. So don't be like, oh man, it's like a DJ. It's musicianship. Then you have what? Graffiti. Art expression. So you go from somebody on the wall being getting a dictation, what do they call it, a ticket or whatever? Going back to citation, right? I got a few of those. Going back to what hieroglyphics. And let's not even begin to get into like breaking and dance culture or what it means to our creativity coming out, right? So hip hop and creativity coming out of the Black existence is the same thing. Why is it more powerful here in the United States of America and also in everywhere parts of the world? Because we wasn't allowed to speak. We wasn't allowed to express ourselves. We were taken, chopped up, mutilated, thrown on this vast United States, didn't know what from what, because we over there, we don't know, man, they took you to Mississippi. Where is Mississippi? I don't even know where. And then, you travel these distances today, and it only goes to make you think how crazy it had to be in 18-something.
That's right.
I mean, drive from here to Jackson, Mississippi, and see if your tail don't be tired by the time you get to Richmond. Could you imagine? Oh, we took your family and we sent them to Hattiesburg, and you in Jamestown, Virginia. It's like, man, it's death. So the thing about it is like, when it comes down to our culture traveling like that, people moving like that, we wasn't allowed to express ourselves. So our music meant everything. Coming from the Congo squares to, our music meant everything. Our expression meant everything. We couldn't tell the slave master, go to hell. I couldn't use more deeper, crazier words here what we wanted to use. So we had to play it in notes. We had to get it out. This is where the power of the music comes from. This is why when you have one radio station just playing black sounds or something similar, this is why this music means everything to people. This is why black folks at a job can't work the job unless I have some music going on. I got to have my music. It's a part of my blood. I can't tell you why. All I know is that beat is right. They singing right, and I need it. Somebody will figure that out. The whole world also figures out they need it. The expression is intensified here in this place where we're at in the part of the world. Because it's intensified because we were silenced. So it had to come out another way and manifest itself over tens and hundreds of years. That's why you can't remove it easy. You can't. It's impossible. But you can manipulate the hell out of it. It's almost 5:40. Rap music. I heard a lot, oh man, I hate rap music. Rap music's real simple. Rap music is not a music, people. Rap music is a vocal on top of music. It's two words, rap, music, vocal on top of music. Why? First of all, talk about the spectrum of vocals. And matter of fact, Professor Griffin, Keith Shockley started with our DJ group, Spectrum. The spectrum of vocals is simple. Talking, singing, rap. James Brown did all three or neither. James Brown talked, sang, rapped. Yeah, you can go into other manifestations of people doing it, Cab Calloway, then Laugh Poets, the beat poets, you know, vocalization of vocals. Somebody saying and hoping for rap to disappear is as silly as saying, I wonder when these singing records are going to stop. That's why rap ain't going nowhere. It's developed its own technique of vocal. What are you going to do? What's between talking and whispering? So when they take the voice and put it on top of the record, that's a process of what? Overdubbing. Anybody like reggae? Well, one thing about Harlem, the planet of Brooklyn always had its own planet going on. And when it came here with two turntables and somebody on a mic DJing, that's a Jamaican thing, Caribbean thing. When Kool Herc comes, and I think, you know Kool Herc's background, I know you have people in Brooklyn. What made Kool Herc go to the Bronx is a discussion that he can only explain, because a Jamaican going to the Bronx in 1969 was just like, yeah, this dude's a Jamaican, you stand out. You ain't standing out in Brooklyn. So him bringing the Jamaican technique up into the Bronx was a revelation around a whole bunch of cats who are Americanized coming out of what? If people come out of Harlem, if people go from Harlem, maybe out of Newark or whatever, which is straight black in states. And these techniques started to have the same techniques but different records, different voice and repertoire over it. That's why when people say, I love reggae, I said, well, do you know what dub is? Yeah, I love dub. Overdubbing is a vocal on top of instrumental. Dub plays an instrumental reggae song, reggae instrumental tracks. It's simple. These are simple terms. A vocal without music is called a what? A cappella. Music without vocal is what? Instrumental. Got the great Raheem, the Furious Five in the house. Vocal on top of music is the process of overdubbing. Vocal on top of what? Acapella on top of instrumental. When the MCs like Raheem would get on the mic, you had nothing but records underneath you. And spanked the hell out of them records. With Breakout, a DJ that played records. 1970s, they de-emphasized music studies in New York. You can look up these facts. You can Google them on how music was taken away from school systems in the late 60s and the early 70s. I was part of the New York City school system up to about the time when I moved out with my family at 9 years old out to Roosevelt, Long Island. But I was part of the 1968 strike. Anybody remember the 1968 strike? I was in 3rd grade, and I remember missing half the year. When they started cutting back and paying teachers less, and the teachers were striking, they took everything out of the schools. So I remember 1968, I was 8 years old. I wasn't like 4 years old, I was 8. I remember clearly. I remember very clearly being sent home and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. got shot and killed. I ain't had to Google MLK and, oh, he's a great man. I remember the day. You want to talk about the rebellion in Los Angeles, back when people were leaving their jobs in New York, 3,000 miles away, remember that, in 92? Things were going aflame in LA, and all of a sudden, oh, we're going to take half the day in New York. I'm like, half the day in New York for what? Same type of thing happened when Dr. King got killed in Memphis. Everybody trying to figure out should they go to work or not. So I remember these things. And I also know very clear that they de-emphasized music education. Out of these ashes like a phoenix. The music of love ain't go, the love of music ain't going nowhere, especially when you had jocks like Gary Bird, Jerry Bledsoe, Hank Spann, or WWRL. So this music stayed strong regardless whether they stripped it out of the schools or whatever. Yo man, music was in the households, it's in the streets. DJs is hooking up the boat. They gotta have music because you know what? We ain't got no other way to express ourselves. So just like slavery, we gonna express ourselves regardless. We ain't gonna be covered by nobody. We gonna cover and speak for ourselves. That's where hip hop and rap music comes from in this city of New York. It's almost 5:45. I'm gonna wrap this in a few. No big pun intended. When you have court plantations, they tell you hip hop is so big, like Rosenberg was saying. Even if Rosenberg came to this, I'm gonna beat him up here. I invited them. I said, Ebro, Rosenberg, HOT97, you in New York, you the radio station that represents hip hop in New York. I ain't in New York right now. I will be in New York July 12th, 4 p.m. See me there. I ain't coming to no station. Well, I don't know, it ain't really New York and Nation of Islam. Who cares? Really, that's not all the full representation, and that's not excuses. Simple questions I laid out. Though you see something wrong with Hot Summer Jam, whatever they call it, in the new MetLife Stadium, where artists and the hosts are spitting the N-word across 4 hours in front of an audience of 45,000 people, and 60% of them non-black. I'll just say non-black for now. Do you see a problem with that? I asked that question on Twitter. Nobody answered it. I got 410,000 people checking me out. They're not followers, because they ain't following me. They're just curious. Or they just follow what might be something I put out there. Like I said, I kind of like to do that. They ain't answered that. Zero. Crickets. Nothing. I said, question number 2. What if those same artists were to spit anti-gay or anti-Semitic so-called slurs on the stage, not even for 4 hours, let's say for half an hour? Where would you be? Where would HOT97 be? Crickets. There's no need to come to your radio station and say anything. Debate over what? Nobody can even answer those 2 questions. They're simple, they're clear, I ain't use big words. I can ask that question again, and it's under 140 characters. Answer that. You don't answer me. Don't make no apology to me. Answer the question. 25 years ago to the month, we were dealing with each other trying to figure out how to work this damn thing out on some words. Here we are today on some words. And you can't come up with words to juxtapose an answer to some words. Well, we come from hip hop. We're supposed to be great managers of words. We won't even say we master it. Great managers of words. You can't call an answer. I ain't ask you to come up to Mosque No.7. Going to step into Mosque No.7, we understand that this is the basis and this is the core of what our culture is in this whole area. And if this is the mecca of the culture of hip hop, I'm not even talking about overthrowing anything else. I'm just talking culture. I'm not talking about joblessness, homelessness, healthcare, and all. We just talking culture. If we can't take culture back, it's a wrap. No big pun intended. Y'all in New York, some of y'all are in New York 100% of the time. The radio station's at the tip of this island. The island ain't too big. You catch a train to the radio station. What they said, well, we can't stop the artists. We can't make the artists do. I said, that's a BS, whatever we're going to call it. Every single artist signs a contract. If you make every single artist sign a contract, you can make them do something else. You ain't taking recording deals or handshake deals. Well, we can't make them. You're making every single artist Not only sign, but sign away. So that's unacceptable. We had just played New Orleans Jazz Fest. Am I right or wrong, bro? Well, I'm saying we played the New Orleans Jazz Fest, and they came up in the Jazz Fest, right? Said, Public Enemy, cool, we respect you. We're going to implement hip-hop into the, help me with this. We're going to help hip-hop into the Jazz Fest. Okay? Because New Orleans, even if you got, you know, a little feeling, everybody in New Orleans knows jazz at least has its own rule of thumb and start state, right? Even if they're like kind of frivolous or liberal about, they know that jazz has its own understanding. Got 10 minutes left before I stop. Give me an hour talking. Like I said, truncating this ain't easy, but this is what we do. They told us to do on the Jazz Fest, and in the contract, right, Mike? They said what? No cursing. We got some records we got curse or two in it. You know what? We had to figure that out. We had to comply to the what? Jazz Fest. Because there's other hip-hop acts that would like to follow and play the Jazz Fest. So we had to figure out how to fit our language in our performance to represent hip-hop in the Jazz Fest. So we paid attention to the order that was set by the Jazz Fest and its promoters and its people in New Orleans, and did a heck of a show, as we do. You mean to tell me that a radio station, because the only thing that's going to fill a stadium, a brand new stadium now, or get a stadium, is a radio station that says, oh, we got the power structure and the core plantation structure behind us to throw these big, mega, super rap gigs. Because promoters can't afford it no more. Right. You don't see concerts coming in the garden. Right. You know, back in the day, you used to see, what? Black music coming in the garden with promoters. Right. In Morton Hall and all those guys that they used to deal with rock. Promoters. Orange Juice Jones in the house. People used to deal with. So when Hot 97 says we can't tell the artists what to do, but we know for a fact that they as a host even treated black people like crap and not answering up to it. They all got shook when I said, number one, you treat black people like we ain't ish. You treat our culture, our women like they ain't ish, and you just not owning up to saying. And you looking at me and thinking, apologize to me. Don't apologize to me. Man, you apologize to me, it's like a waste of time. I'm not offended. I understand. These are the situations you better come up and figure out answers. Matter of fact, they got goonology going on every aspect. Rosenberg was responding to the goonology going on. You know what goonology is, right? Somebody who want to goon up. Like, yo, man, I don't even know. You just in hip-hop public church? Yeah, I don't even, I mean, yeah, back in the day, yeah, I'll throw a kick in. Man, because his air conditioner went off in Brooklyn. He's like, yo, man, I'll just take a train and just pop that cat. That's what they, man. And I felt bad for Rosenberg because I said, yo, you stepped on a landmine, dude. Here I'm looking at you, you looking at me. You step on a landmine, you know you can't jump off of it. Hip-hop wise, you a dead man. Right. You gotta feel, I will help you. Really. I'm staring at a dude on a landmine. We said that our good nature was like, you could be good for hip-hop. I don't know what made you do that video. That was a problem. We might help you up to be a service to this thing because you gotta think beyond yourself. And when people tell you things like hip-hop is so big, if hip-hop's so big, where's the groups? Somebody name me 4 or 5 groups. Groups. Public Enemy's a group. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame didn't come, they don't come easy. They don't hand out that like